Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again. You know, today really is kind of the midway point in this project. We're just about finished with the rough work, and we're going to be looking at some of the stuff that gets hidden in the walls before all the plasterboard gets installed. Also, we'll meet with Rick and Nancy Lamb, our landscape architects here in Cambridge, who are going to help me assess the backyard, figure out what trees to keep and which ones to discard. Also, Bob Ryley's on the scene. He's going to be helping us install a pocket door. Stick around. It's good to have you home again.
Bob Vila's home again.
You know, I'm a firm believer in bringing in the design professionals, and right now we're going to meet Rick and Nancy Lamb, who are landscape architects. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Bob. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Bob. And one of the things that we need to talk at this point is what this backyard is going to do for me. I mean, it's a sizable backyard, maybe 75 by 30 or 35.
That's pretty close.
And yet we know that we don't want to create a big grassy area that I have to mow every Saturday morning. And we know that it's New England climate, that we have a lot of snow to look out the windows in the living room and so forth. So you're going to help me figure out what to do with this backyard. What are the assets?
Well, we'd like to make it a garden for you, not just a yard.
Yeah.
Well, you've inherited some good mature material, probably put in a generation ago. It's also been forgotten probably for a generation. Your hemlocks, as you see, give you wonderful protection.
In the corners of the lot, we have these hemlocks, right?
And this hemlock, if it were taken away, you would expose a great big 5-story building. So in a good urban garden, that's that's a nice block.
Yeah.
These hemlocks up here give you good protection against this house, but also their negative is that they're overgrown and they're very heavy, so they need to be really thinned out.
Yeah. And what about things like these rhododendrons? You know, we've been working here now for several months, and they were in bloom, and they're not at all my favorite color. These are whites.
Well, these are whites,
yeah.
And these rhododendrons actually, you can actually lower and tighten up rhododendrons by removing their new growth and get them a little bit tighter. This rhododendron here, some of it has died back because of winter.
Right.
This could be cut down. It happens to not be your color.
It's a hot pink. Yeah.
And so this one probably would be best to either totally and completely remove.
I like that.
And this
Here's
one,
your best plant, your Coosa dogwood.
This one here?
yeah, the Coosa dogwood.
I mean, the bark is really just getting to be wonderful with the modulation.
But of course, this rhododendron has to go so that the Coosa can
It's
thrive.
1 year bad color. It
Yeah.
could be fine with the Coosa in competition, but you can't really move it because of its proximity to the dogwood.
Yeah.
To the root ball.
Yeah.
So it really just gets taken out. Now the Coosa, as it gets older, has this wonderful peeling or exfoliating bark.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
And it needs a little bit of pruning. You've got this one shoot which is not normal to its growth.
This one here.
That one.
Yeah.
That goes away. This is a prize tree. Unlike the flowering dogwood, which we're used to, this blooms on its leaves rather than before its leaves, and it's not susceptible to what's killing the regular flowering dogwood.
Speaking of killing, we had all our red cedar shingles. Some of them are treated with fire retardant. We had them all piled up here, and I'm afraid that all of a sudden the Coosa started dropping leaves like mad.
You can see that, and one of the reasons it did was it's a very aromatic shingle,
Yeah.
and either the vapor from being under the cover or rain and washing down probably affected it. Now, having moved it a short time ago, look what's happening. You're getting a whole new regrowth of the leaves that had dropped off before.
Now, even though the orientation of the living room is southerly and we're looking kind of directly here, we do get views of the neighboring house.
Yes.
So that one of my concerns is, you know, how do we create some privacy here without stealing all their light?
Well, I think what we want to do is to give the neighbors, I believe this is their kitchen area, privacy, so we'll give them a filtered view into your garden, and it'll be like giving them the good side of a fence because their material will follow the sun and they'll get the fullest part of the material. But we do want to extend your view down to the spruce and the maples further on.
So the trick is to try to, since we are in a tight urban situation, to try to let the eye go far, far away to see things
As
that are
often as you can.
Share and protect.
And you want to steal the textures. I mean, you want to build new textures from what you're seeing a long ways away, so they'll add together. So the whole palette is working. Whereas in a big country place, you're adjusting it in a whole different manner.
That's why you need the professionals. Now, the trees here, the hemlock that we're talking about and the ones along the side, are real problems. And I notice you've brought us an arborist today.
Charlie Cummings is here and is ready, has mounted the tree and ready to talk about how to
I think I'll climb up there and meet him and interview him, and I'll let you guys get back to the drawing board, okay? Good to see you.
Thanks.
Terrific.
Well, Charlie, let me interrupt you here for a minute.
Oh, hi, Bob.
Hi. You've got trees here that are probably pretty old, right?
Well, you've got 4 hemlock trees here that are about 50 years old, and I really don't think there's been any type of tree work done in them for that period of time.
No, and we hacked at them a little bit when we were staging up here and rebuilding the roof and stuff, but obviously we haven't done things right. How do you go about removing some of this growth that's kind of coming right on top of the house?
Well, what I'm doing now is I'm removing any dead limbs that I find in the tree, and I'm pruning them back to a healthy limb.
So you'd be putting a cut where?
I'm putting a cut right at what we call the collar of the limb, and that way there it ensures that that limb is going to heal over properly.
At what you call the collar of the limb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that collar, you can almost see it. And what the tree does is it will heal over at that point.
And you've cut it at a slash, at an angle, right?
And this particular branch I would cut at an angle because that's where the collar wants to heal.
Okay. What about when you have big branches like you have up there that are 8 or 10 feet over the roof?
What we're going to do, we're going to tip back all of these branches to allow more air circulation around the house, to eliminate the branches from touching the buildings.
Also, let's look at this one, for example. Show me where you would tip something like that.
What we're going to do with this one, and every branch is going to be a little different as for what we could take out of the branch because of the fact of what and how many limbs that it has growing on it.
Okay.
So this particular branch, I can clip back into an area like this, and you can see that raises right back and gives us fairly good clearance.
Okay. So that the key is kind of gauging how much the big branch is going to lift up.
The key is Lonnie, can you take this branch from me? The key is how healthy the branch is that you're clipping back and how much growth it has on it to do it properly. And then the key is taking a certain amount of weight on it to see how it's going to bounce back.
Yeah, and from the homeowner's perspective, though, the key is not to catch a lot of this stuff in your gutters and on your roof.
Absolutely.
And also in the winter, it's great to have all the screening that you get from the tree, the privacy from the neighboring house, and to see the birds and the snow in the boughs, but you don't want to have these branches rubbing up against, you know.
No, you don't. The other thing is we want to thin these lightly to allow more air circulation into the tree.
Yeah.
This allows less wind damage. We eliminate any hazards such as the large broken limbs, so they don't hurt anybody when they fall.
Okay. All right, I know you're going to have to climb into some of these. We're going to have to break for messages. Don't go away. We're up on the second floor now, and we're in the process of hanging up all the blue board and closing it in. I thought we'd take a minute and talk about what's inside the walls and in the ceilings. If you look at this partition, which is between my bathroom and the back hall, here you see evidence of a door that was framed in the original frame back in 1897. And look at how they trussed it there to carry the load from above. You know, labor was cheap, there was plentiful talent. But let's get together with Greg Rocklin, our architect, who's here today, and we can talk a little bit about some of the very modern day appliances that are going in. These recessed light kits they're low voltage, right?
Yes, Bob. These are light-a-layer, low voltage, miniature wall washers. And this is runs on 12 volts, converted from 110 from this wire
so you
to
feed
this
it
transformer.
In, I see. You feed in regular 110, and then the little transformer converts it to a low voltage.
Right. And this allows us to make an extremely small fixture, which is very good in this kind of renovation work, where we've got joist spacing we don't know what it's going to be like, and we're trying to get lighting at an even spacing, and we've only got this little aperture, 3.5 inches that we have to get, and we can space that out, as you can see, fairly evenly.
So we've got 6 or 8 of them, and they can be focused, and you can, like if you had a collection of family photographs on the wall, you can aim right at each one, right?
These things have a very good advantage. They're called hot focus, in that after you install the light and the trim, and you have the art on the walls, you can actually reach inside and adjust the bulb and the lens to get the light exactly where you want it. And
I
it
like
can be
that.
changed later on if
That's
you change
great.
your pictures.
Let's go inside the bathroom and look at some of the framing that's been done in there. Now, the ceiling in here has an unusual cornice treatment. What's the story?
You've got a set of closets coming in from California Closets. They're pre-made and they're this height. They go to here.
Okay.
They don't go any farther. So we brought the ceiling down to accommodate those. At the same time, we've taken that reveal that's going to produce and run it all the way around the room as an architectural feature.
That's nice, yeah. And then we've got more of the same lights in the ceiling here that can be focused in so that you can see your dark suits or
That's
whatever
right.
in there.
And again, they're hot adjustable, so
Yeah.
once you get the closets, you can adjust them.
Then in the bathroom section, you've framed in, what do you call it, a soffit. But why have you used metal instead of wooden studs here?
Well, the only thing we're attaching to this is plasterboard.
Yeah.
And we don't have the nail any trim to it. And by making it out of metal, it's very quick to do. You can keep it very straight.
Yeah. You've got everything in here. You've got hot air being delivered through here, and you've got 2 more of these lighting units here so that you can aim down. And this, of course, will be a vanity area, which I believe the shape of this reflects the shape down here,
That's
right?
correct.
At the counter will be the same kind of rhomboid shape.
Yeah.
What is in the chase back here?
Well, this is a little sensor that senses the temperature of the hot water coming up in this pipe. This is the feed to the hot water side of your sink faucet. And when the temperature goes down below 100 degrees, this sends a signal to the basement, and the boiler fires again and brings hot water up through this pipe to this point.
Boy, we are bringing this place into the 21st
certainly
century.
are.
There's no doubt about it. And of course, we'll have another light that
Underneath the medicine
mirror,
cabinet.
Right. Sounds good. And then here, what we've got is a pocket door so that we can close off the bath from the dressing area. And to learn more about how these are installed, let's go downstairs and find Bob Ryley. Hey, Ryley.
Hey, Bob.
Well, that saw makes quick work out of that, right?
Oh, it sure does, yeah.
This is steel and a wood insert.
Right.
And this is all the components for our pocket door here, right?
Yep, this is the last stud I'm cutting right now. I just want to put a pilot hole in the top here.
And we are standing in the entryway from the main hall downstairs into the kitchen area. And I guess the design calls for a pocket door in this location.
Yeah, it sure does.
Because we've got, well, it's complex. We've got a closet here that's like a broom closet, and this will have a swinging door. And we figured we didn't want a second swinging door into the hall because that ends up being left in the open position all the time. And there's a nice expansive wall here that would allow us to hang a big poster or something. So the pocket door is the answer. And this is a kit, and the components are pretty basic, right?
It sure is. Just a track on the top, which we've already placed.
Yep.
Put in place. And then we have these metal studs. They're going to create a cavity for the door to ride into.
Okay. Can I give you a hand?
Sure can.
Now this is a heavy-duty frame, right?
This is yes, this is a good frame. That's the key to these pocket doors is making sure you get a good heavy frame with good hardware.
Yeah.
Which is what we've got here.
Yeah, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to fix a flimsy pocket door frame after the wallboard's already been put up.
Okay.
And now where do these go?
This is the end piece, which goes right over here. That fits right up against that header. Get the bottom first.
You got to be pretty precise with this, even though it falls into the realm of rough carpentry.
Right. Well, we've already pre-cut this so that it's going in good and plumb.
All right. Now, how do you determine that the door line up perfectly with the outer edge of the wall here?
Well, that's the most important part of the pocket door installation. And what we've got, we're going to use this template again, set it in here.
The template is just a ripped down piece of 2x4 that's the exact 28-inch width of the door.
Right, and this is the mock-up of how our trim is going to be exactly. And we want to be sure that we have a stop along that jamb over there.
Okay, and so you've already put in some
shimmed
shims to make up the difference, and then this is a 1/2-inch rubber stop that comes with the door kit.
That's
so
right.
this goes right here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Need the screw gun.
There you go.
And are you going to go ahead and put that up there?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, and this is the runner for the doors, and this nut here is going to help us adjust the door to make it plumb when we hang it.
That's at the finished stage, but right now we'll make sure we don't lose any of our hardware by keeping it up there along with the template. Okay. There you go. Joining us now is Brian Powell, architectural conservator with the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities.
Hi, Bob.
It's a heck of a handle. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
We've challenged you to try to determine what the original paint scheme was, the original colors for this 100-year-old house. And I guess you start off with a little tool like this, huh?
We start out looking for areas where we know we've got thick layering. And after we find that, we'll cut a little plug out, including the paint, take it back to our lab, and part of that plug we cast in polyester resin.
Oh, look at this. So you take a sample where there's a lot of paint, thick layering, as you say, and then you've cast it in resin.
Yeah, polish the surface.
Yeah.
Then we put that under the microscope, and we're able to see a layering sequence like this.
And you're able to take a photograph like this?
Yes, through the microscope. We're seeing this at 125 times magnification.
All right, well, clearly that's the original wood of the column, right?
Yeah, and we're confident that we're seeing an original paint here. That wood is nice and fresh. If it had spalled off and weathered, we'd be seeing something else. That's our original treatment, kind of an ivory. And as you can see, 4 more times it gets painted in that color before we move into this darker palette.
The dark green palette.
Yes, and if we were to look at your door surround, you'd see it begins in this darker sequence. Therefore, we're able to know from paints that your door surround is not original to the house.
Detective work. That's
yes, it is.
Really cool. And then it continues in the tan or earth tones and then back to what it has now, which is almost the same as it originally had.
Yes, full circle.
Huh. Futile. Anyway, let's go around the back and talk about some different color schemes that we can get on the shingles and the trim. All right, we have an array of colors on the south wall of the house, and so this, you suggest, is the original combination?
We've got this dark green body color. This is our ivory trim, classic. You see it all over the landscape.
This is 1897 here.
Yeah, kind of very late shingle becoming colonial revival.
Okay, and then an alternative is right next to it is to not go with such a dark color scheme, but to go to something much lighter, like this kind of tan or khaki.
Yeah, of course the classic for a shingle house is a dark brown like the one we have next door, but in speaking to you earlier, to lighten up the palette, as long as we're staying in kind of earth tones and grays, we're safe.
Yeah.
So if we use this light brown as a body color, we could go with either one of these trim and window combinations, either this kind of gray with a darker brown sash, darker brown trim, and this nice dark green sash.
Now the greens and the reds that we're looking at over here are the color scheme that I saw when we visited the Frederick Law homestead here in Brookline, Massachusetts. And his house is an 1810 Federal that was more or less Victorianized and added onto in the 1880s. And this is a color scheme that I thought also could be appropriate. What do you think?
That's a real handsome scheme and very appropriate for a house of this age. I must say I really go for those dark colors.
I'm glad to hear that. Brian, thanks for coming along. We've got a break for some messages. Don't go away. Well, that's a wrap. Come home again next time. We're going to be building a staircase from the basement up to the kitchen. And it's called a housed staircase, a style that was very common in the early 1800s. Also, we're trimming out the dining room, putting back the doors that were missing from the sideboard. And upstairs, we'll be starting our ceramic tile work. Till then, I'm Bob Vila. It's good to have you home again.